Lucky Lefty podcast. Happy Friday to everyone. It's for the Culture Friday right here. The Onora boys are in the building. Brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you're going to drink, by all means, make sure that you do so
responsibly.
You got to do it responsibly. Our guy, John Garcia Jr., State of Recruiting over at CFB Nation with us. Matter of fact, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content, all of our great shows, State of Recruiting, CFB, All American, the All American Show. Man, leave us 5 stars. Leave your comments. We greatly appreciate it. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast. You already know we spin it different. So he's going to join us, and we have some interesting topics to discuss today. Would like to start off by saying thank you to John Sott, Notre Dame's punter, who just announced on Twitter that he was hanging up his cleats and not pursuing NFL dreams. And for a young man that did undergrad at Harvard and grad at Notre Dame, I'm sure he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay. I think that's a sound decision. Well, thank him for his efforts on the field this past year, and blessings to him and whatever he does moving forward. Mario Cristobal fired Josh Gaddis this morning, Left. That's I can't wait to talk to John Garcia Jr. about that. That's bananas, bro.
Fired him.
Get him up out of here. Talk about that just a little bit. Left, interesting. Talk Notre Dame. We're going to talk roster management, right? Someone asked us a question yesterday during the show. I believe it was Doma Wap about Marcus Freeman having discussions with players about whether or not they have a place on the roster. And would you please let people know, especially those that might be on the side of, high and mightiness when it comes to life, and or they just might think things are black and white, right or wrong. Can you enlighten people about what the letter of intent really means? Because most people think when you sign the letter of intent to commit to a university, you have a 4-year contract.
No, you definitely sign year to year. And so being a respectable university, they honor the 4 years, but it's always been you sign that piece of paper, it clearly says for 1 year at a time. So maybe it's an insurance thing or how they do it, but you definitely got to sign on every year. So I think that it's interesting that when people don't know that, they just think you get 4 years scot-free. But even when you win the lottery, you don't win the whole lottery. You got to get taxes taken out. And then you got to get state taxes taken out, so depending on where you at. So it's a lot of things that happen. Or like when you win like a car on Wheel of Fortune or something,
you definitely have to pay the taxes.
Car, and you got to pay taxes for where you live at and where you're getting it from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you damn near don't want the free car. So it's a lot.
True story. This couple in my dad's church back in the day went on Wheel of Fortune and won a Chevy. I forget the vehicle. They won a vehicle and they ended up selling it. Basically, they ended up selling it because it was like taxes and getting it here from LA to Chicago, right? Because you would think, like, man, just go back to Chicago and just go to a Chevy dealership and.
No, you literally won that car
that's right on stage, right? And it was just shocking all the red tape that went with that. It was absolutely amazing, bro. So when you think about it, man, you're right. When we talk about roster management, and I can't wait to have our bro John Garcia Jr. jump in with us momentarily to really talk about this, man, because people ask for so much when it comes to these college football fan bases, right? I can only imagine the expectations, say, that Deion Sanders has from the Buffalo fan base, right? Like some will be realistic and say, hey, this is a heck of a rebuild. And some just automatically say, oh man, he turned Jackson State around. Man, we should be battling for a national championship like next year.
Yeah.
Like, and managing a roster in college football is one of the most tedious, but yet and still, if you're doing it right, probably one of the most transparent things you can do as a head coach.
But the admissions process for Notre Dame in general is more ruthless than a football recruiting roster management situation.
Are you speaking just specifically Notre Dame, or are you talking about college football at large?
Specifically, Notre Dame in comparison to the college football team and how they roster manage one or two guys. Just imagine your daughter gets a 4.5 in valedictorian and
Hmm.
still don't get in. What about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody care about that.
Well, the rule came down yesterday where it looks like moving forward, athletes will only have to worry about their GPA and won't have to worry about standardized testing. I'm very interested in how that impacts Notre Dame and admissions with young athletes. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But there are so many factors to this, Left, right? Now, with the transfer portal as open as it is, why do we really care about that 1 year contract and coaches having conversations, transparent, honest conversations with young men about their career? It's like, look, this is where you are here at Notre Dame on the depth chart. If you still aspire to matriculate to the NFL, you might want to go somewhere else to give yourself a better chance of doing that. That's an honest conversation. And because
Yeah, it's definitely not the wrong conversation to have. That's the conversation that's most truthful for a player to accept. I think it's different than a breakup because a breakup, uh, you don't really know. You don't really know what happens after. But in a conversation like this, you got a couple years left. You need to take advantage of it at a fresh start. And there's nothing wrong with a fresh start, but provided them telling you. Now, it's one thing to them not to tell you,
yeah,
which is an issue. And I think that's wrong of coaches because some coaches don't tell you and then leave.
facts,
Like what
facts,
the what
facts,
is it?
facts.
So I think that's the best way and the most honest way of keeping a program healthy is by being honest to the kid and being like, look, there's plenty of schools, but if you want to play, it's not gonna be here. And that's
Yeah,
fair. He told Drew
yeah,
Pine that Drew Pine was like, you know what? You're right. I got 3 years. I can go to a rebuilding school, play all the time, have a great time. Great choice of Arizona State. Definitely not the same academic standards. So it's gonna be a breeze, probably a long vacation for Drew Pine. So I think Marcus Freeman did him a due diligence and did him a service, but also did the program a service because that way he can then understand. He can then understand. Okay, I can open up my market faster.
mm,
I can put the quarterback on sale for sign on my front line a lot quicker because now I know Drew's going, not hanging around. So I think the transition of roster management is very healthy. And anything when you hoard on anything is not good for you. So I think it provides players the best access to keep themselves relevant because you got to think you got the transfer portal as open as it is.
yeah,
You can leave the next day.
yeah. And it's funny because those people, the people that are upset with Marcus Freeman are the same people that would look at a team in the NBA and say, "Stop shooting threes." Like we don't like you shooting threes, but we want you to win a championship in today's NBA. You can't.
Like what they said, Joel Embiid need to play in the post.
No,
Why is
we get to that. That's totally different. That's just Joel Embiid being lazy. He's just being lazy. He's just
what?
being lazy. He's being lazy. We'll get to that on the petty train. But Joel needs to hush. He needs to hush. Dude, you say you the biggest thing on the court and you just want to shoot threes. You're being lazy. Being lazy. Let's bring in our bro, man, John Garcia Jr., who, man, I'm sure he's happy to get a break, right? Because he's coming off a bowl season, the end of All-Star season, the end of recruiting, and kind of a break in between the next National Signing Day. But I don't think he gets any breaks left because he's on daddy duty in between that. And that's probably more tiring than anything else that he does. Let's bring in our guy, John Garcia Jr., host of the State of Recruiting podcast. John, how you doing today?
Fellas, doing well, doing well. Yeah, I
Hey,
think Daddy Duty provides a little bit more misdirection and
Yeah,
unexpected circumstances. But yeah, it's fun, kind of juggling everything back and forth. And yeah, there's still a signing day coming up, not as big, but
yeah.
there's still going to be some action, I think.
Yo, has have you been gotten yet? Have you been gotten yet? What I mean by that, I remember being in Atlanta 2002 or 2003. I'm sorry, and it was like March 2003. My daughter might have been like 4 months, and my wife, she's like, "Man, can you change her for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So as soon as I take the diaper off, just
Oh,
projectile, just
yeah.
straight out. I'm like, "Yo," and I'm like, my wife is like, "That's why you take it off slow." You hold it. See, my technique was all bad. My
that's right.
diaper technique was all bad. Have you experienced that yet?
Yes, of course. Especially with a boy,
Yes, of
it's like
course.
Right.
the angles are different, and yeah, it's you're more susceptible. Let's call it that. But yeah, same thing. It's trial and error. I think a lot of this is trial and error.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my lady's got she has an older daughter, so she's been through it. So I'm the rookie, but I've got a good coach to kind of bring me along. Thankfully, but yeah, no, you're still
That's right.
very vulnerable. Let's
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So before you came on, a lot of noise yesterday with roster management, Notre Dame, and Marcus Freeman. People upset, bringing up the values of Notre Dame and how they don't like the fact that Marcus Freeman is reportedly having conversations about athletes on the roster about the reality of their career at Notre Dame. Where do you fall on this? Not just with Notre Dame, but as far as these conversations that to me seem to be happening pretty commonly across college football.
Well, I mean, do you want honesty or not? I think it's that simple. Do you want to be told where you truly stand, whether good, bad, or somewhere in the middle? And I've
Mhm.
always thought that answer should be yes in any situation. Again, we're bringing in college programs are bringing in players as young men, right? And the more power provided to that group, whether it's money, obviously branding, fame, marketing, all these things, platforms, you've got to handle that responsibility that comes with it. And yeah, if things aren't going great, your coach deserves to let you know about it. And some don't do it. I will say there are a lot of methods to approach that with, and transparency is not the most common, I would say. I think college coaches ghost their current players. They kind of just ignore them, and that's the hint that some of them get. And oftentimes, obviously, if that's the method, you're going to get that hint later than you probably should have, which means you have less time, in theory, to figure out what's next for you, either at that school or somewhere else. So, in my mind, and I know I'm old school. Side note: I was talking to my high school coach. He's now coaching ball in Atlanta, and he was at the Under Armour game coaching linebackers, and we were just reminiscing, being old guys. And he says, "Man, I can't even coach how I coached you because
Mm.
these kids will run off, right? So you can't, on one end, you can't be as tough as you used to be, but on the other end, you have to be communicative, and you do have to let these kids know where they stand. So it's hard to find that middle ground. So if you are harsh and honest and kind of NFL like, you are viewed as, oh, this is a business first professional mindset. But on the flip side, these kids want a lot of the professional benefits that come with being in today's nature a big time college football player. So it works both ways to me. I'm always going to be in that transparent avenue. I think how you communicate that, maybe that's where things can be tweaked, but I would rather know where I stand, so I can always adjust, good or bad, from that point. So I think it's better than ghosting or just pretending or lying that things are good when they're not. I think that's the other side of this. If there's a coach that is afraid of some of that pushback, and he or she might be more inclined to say, hey, you know what, keep working, and we'll see. When in reality, you've already been over recruited, and then there's the portal, and then there's the depth chart, and then it kind of snowballs, and all of a sudden you're not even on the two deep as an upperclassman. So who was right in that methodology? Even though the kid was told, hey, everything's good, keep at it, and you're headed in the right direction. I think while the story has been, hey, everyone gets this extra year and eligibility's extending longer than it ever has, on the other side of it, it's still relatively short, right? You're talking 3 to 5 or 6 years at the most. And I know the one Oregon transfer has 8 years, but that's extremely rare. So you're still talking about a short amount of time where even a 1 year difference can make or break everything. If Joe Burrow doesn't recognize after that injury that Dwayne Haskins is the guy, RIP, and he needs to move on, he had to have that kind of up and down year before the breakout year, right? So if he doesn't realize it at that moment, does he become Heisman winner, first pick, maybe going to a Super Bowl for the second straight year type of quarterback? I'm not sure. So the timing of all of this is incredibly important. Even though in theory these college careers are getting longer and longer, it's still a short amount of time, and every single really semester, I would say every semester is critical to where you stand. So if I'm a player in today's game, I want the coaches to be as transparent as possible. Hey, I know I see the recruiting class. Obviously, I was here in practice, and I see these portal additions at my position. What is the plan for me? And if it's not aligned with my thinking, I've got to consider making a move in this day and age. So I think the Drew Pine example is a very good one. I think that's probably the most surprising to see pushback against. I'm not sure why. I guess what's the other argument? Hey, you got into college, so now for 4 years you're good. Like, that's it. You deserve to be here 4 years later, no matter what. Like, I don't understand the counter argument to transparency.
There's so many different factors, and Left, you can tap into this, dude, because Notre Dame is different, right? Left, like so many guys that you played with that might have left earlier, but dude, that Notre Dame degree is gold.
Sure.
So if you can just wait 3 years and be on path to get that degree and still go play, that's what most of these guys try to do on the roster. I mean, Left, am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, well, Drew's situation with the COVID year, he got to graduate in 3, get an extra one, have a red shirt or something like that. So he's got some time. And I think what's interesting, what do you think, John, is the methodology behind the process of a guy like Mitchell from Georgia that's a receiver, pinnacle championship team, and then you jump in the transfer portal? What's the idea behind something like that?
Well, I think from the outside looking in, it was kind of what I just said at the end. Like, I know I've been the guy among the receivers, even though we all know when it's a passing situation, it's tight end first, and obviously you got great backs on top of that. But when it does come to wide receiver in the critical moments, A.D. Mitchell has been that guy for Georgia the last 2 playoff runs, a touchdown in every playoff game, literally. But then you look at what Georgia was doing simultaneously in the portal, and they go out and get Missouri's leading receiver, Dominic Lovett, who's a real polished player at receiver. They go out and get Mississippi State's either leading or second receiver in Ra Thomas, who has since run into some legal trouble. And then in recruiting, they're bringing in, I think, 4 wide receivers. So again, if you're A.D. Mitchell, you say, yeah, I've been that guy. But it looks like there's going to be a whole lot more competition in an offense that, again, Brock Bowers is coming back, so that tight end option is still there, and they've recruited the position well. So where do I really stand while you bring in two other SEC leading receivers that have outproduced me at other programs? Where do I sit? And if that answer was 3 or 4 at best in terms of passing options, maybe he said, hey, I need to look around at an offense that's going to chuck it around a little bit more. And certainly Texas will do that in theory this coming year, even though their receiver room is pretty strong as well. So it's, to me, it was more of what Georgia was doing during that playoff run in recruiting in the portal that maybe told him, hey, like, am I not the wide receiver one that you envision? I'm not sure how those conversations went, but it was a late hook. I mean, he jumped in the portal and surprised a lot of people. And even at that moment, there was already Texas buzz. So, every situation is unique. And I'm not sure off the field, family-wise, whatever else was potentially going on with AD. But from a football standpoint, yeah, I'm your big-time, big play, clutch receiver in the playoffs. And, yeah, I've been a little banged up, but now I'm healthy. Going into my, third year, I should really be ready to ascend. And in the looks and optics of the rest of the talent acquisition department, it looks like you're being replaced simultaneously. So I could see where that was a detractor for him to stick around at Georgia. But again, it's not like he went to a situation where he's going to be the clear wide receiver one either. So there could have been more at play there.
Yeah. And, guys, it seems to me that, maybe 5 years ago, I would be more empathetic towards the athlete in the situation, right? Because Malik, you said it. Yeah, coaches leave whenever they get ready. Coaching changes happen all the time. Heck, we're going to talk about what Mario Cristobal did this morning.
Today, yeah.
But yet still 24 kids would come to campus and this is who was hosting them. So, like, that's crazy within that. And, I mean, the 23 kids are just committed. Like, what do they do now? Because that's who they committed to on the offensive side of the ball. Things happen all the time, but I think with the transfer portal and how it's evolved today, I don't have as much empathy to the players because I think now they can have that business mindset when they walk in the door and say, hey, I'm looking at how things are playing out, and I can plan out what I need to do, whether it's Notre Dame, USC, Georgia, Alabama. This is second straight year we've seen a wide receiver leave Georgia after winning a national championship. And it's really the best of both worlds. Like, you want to go win, you've won, and now you can be a little selfish. AD Mitchell, go be selfish. Go create your brand and your production to get you to the next level, to the NFL. Go do it. Like, who wouldn't want to have both of those opportunities in a 4-year college span? It really lends itself to being an open market that can be beneficial not only to the coaches and the programs, but the athletes themselves.
That's a great point. I mean, look at the guys going into Georgia, right? It's the opposite.
Right.
Dominic Love is like, hey, I've been the alpha, I've been the leading receiver, made some big plays and all that stuff. Now let me go win. No disrespect to Mizzou, let me go win a little bit more along the way. So yeah, it does work both ways. But yeah, I agree totally. I think the way you said it, you can't have as much empathy now than we used to because everybody's mobile.
Right. Mobile, yeah.
At basically any time, right? So it's about, again, hopefully for the player's sake, a transparent situation. Hey, we're changing offenses, or you don't fit based on the personnel compared to what we thought coming out of high school, or you haven't developed to a certain degree or whatever it is. Hey, it might be beneficial for you to consider your options, which is how I understand Notre Dame communicated with Drew. And look, there's situations like that across the sport. That's first point. Second point is, would you rather be pumped sunshine and then get into a quarterback battle where you're like the third guy and then you're trying to portal in May as opposed to, in December, January, where there's just less spots? I mean, how many quarterbacks have we seen make verbal commitments in the portal? Half of them are enrolled already by now. Because it was a competitive year, so competitive that like a Sam Heward is still out there, a former 5-star NFL bloodline quarterback, a lefty, of course. He's still out there with 4 years of eligibility. I would have thought, dude, he's gonna be in the portal for 2 days, but he's still out there. And there was like some UC Davis buzz the last I saw.
Wow.
That's how slippery it can get if you wait. And he entered the portal, I think, on the last day, on December 18th. So imagine if Notre Dame pumped sunshine to Drew Pine, and now he's entering the portal either now or in May,
He definitely
where there's theoretically no starting spots available.
Because somebody would have snatched that Arizona State one up.
That's real deal. Speaking
Marcus
of the transfer,
did him a solid, for sure. Marcus Freeman did him a solid.
absolutely.
But we're known for doing guys solid at the quarterback position. Jack Cohn, doing solids. Ian doing solids. So I think Sam is going to fall in line right with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have talked about that upgrade, but that's exciting, man. That's as big an upgrade, no disrespect to Drew, as we saw in the portal. It elevates you. And there's nothing wrong with winning 8, 9, 10 games, but the ceiling changes with Sam Hartman. It's a January ceiling now as opposed to a December ceiling. So I think that's the reason you always consider the portal no matter your circumstances. Obviously, Tyler Buckner, interesting talent, but what about after that? So
January, like the end of January, or January, like, we're flirting with the first couple games in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it could be both, honestly. I mean, this is to me, you make this move to go for the playoff. I mean, that's the only reason you look to move on and upgrade from an interesting and solid quarterback room with Pine and Buckner. You go for your ceiling to achieve what you can at the highest level. And if you're Sam Hartman, you had a really good situation. You're the best quarterback in Wake Forest history. You're outperforming expectations every year in an offense that, my gosh, fits you so well. On that same token, you've got an NFL resume right now. You will find a selection somewhere, not in the beginning of the draft, but you'll make some money and be on a roster in camp. The only reason you move and stay in school is to go for the one thing you couldn't grab at Wake Forest, which was that college football playoff contention. So to me, both sides were on that same note, and that's why Hartman to Notre Dame was basically done before he ever entered the portal, according to reports. So, yeah, I think that's the goal, right? It's a year-to-year business, and we've seen these crazy jumps. I mean, TCU was 5-7 in 2021. Yeah. Not that Notre Dame was that low, looking to bounce back, but we know it can turn around that fast with a couple of things breaking your way. And if you start at the quarterback position, I mean, that's about as ideal as possible.
Now, what do you do if you're Tyler? We talked about that a little bit the other day. How would you feel? Would you transfer? And should Marcus Freeman have that same conversation with Drew Pine with a guy like Tyler Buckner?
Well, he's got the same amount of eligibility or more?
Yeah, still has 3 left, right?
I think he got 2 years left.
Because he can consider this year a red shirt because he didn't play more than 4 games.
Right.
So that could be a red shirt. He still has a COVID year.
Yeah, or he could apply for medical maybe.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah.
So I think it's different with Tyler, different skill set, and a different fit. When injuries are a part of it, to me, you're less likely to just throw yourself in the portal because the other teams are going to be more skeptical than your current team, right? Because your current team has all the info. Hey, this is how banged up you've been. This is really a major issue, or it's just coincidence, right? So I think for Tyler, it's a little different because injuries seem to be, you guys are closer than me, seem to be the biggest reason why it's been up and down for him. So I think the ceiling for 24 and beyond is still there for Tyler. Now, CJ Carr is going to come in, and it's a whole different competition and situation at that point. But I think you let the chips fall where they may thereafter. So for me, with Buckner, you sell him on let's learn from Sam and compete first and foremost, and then let's see what happens at the end of the year going into next year. And I think that will be his window to either dig his heels in at Notre Dame and hold off some interesting and different young competition, or to move on at that point, because I think he'll still have multiple years of eligibility. So it's a different feel than Drew Pine. Drew Pine, it felt like, hey, you maybe didn't plan for it, but 22 was your time. This was your however many game sample to
Audition for somewhere else.
Say again.
To audition for somewhere else.
Well, it turned out to be that, but to me, that was, you have to view that as, hey, this was my audition for either Notre Dame or somebody else, as you put it. So he obviously did that, and he's going to be the starter at Arizona State in a good offense with Kenny Dillingham. So we'll see how that works for him. But yeah, I think it feels different with Buckner. There's still unanswered questions with Buckner as to where Pine, I think we kind of know where we stand from a football standpoint relative to Drew Pine. And that question's still out there for Buckner. So for me, it means digging in, developing, and then competing for the 24 job. And in theory, and you're also, of course, the number 2 guy this year. Notre Dame fans know very well you're one play away on top of all of that. So I think prioritizing Buckner is probably just as important as being honest with him.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. Our guy John Garcia Jr. joins us right here. Go follow State of Recruiting, Lucky Lefty, Apple Podcast, Spotify, over at CFB Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. Give us 5 stars. Leave your comments. We appreciate you. It's Lucky Lefty Podcast, State of Recruiting. You already know we spin it different. Absolutely. So, John, we teased Josh Gaddis being fired this morning. I want you to combine that with Kamani McLean, Jaden Rashada. Like, it has been hectic around that program over the last couple of months. Like, how do you characterize what's happening with Mario Cristobal and the Hurricane program?
I think he knows he's up against it. I mean, it's only year 2. So in theory, and Marcus is in the same position, it's like year 1 didn't go exactly as planned. So let's have tangible change going into year 2. Because at Miami, it's a little different optically. We know at Notre Dame, the support it's strong, right? And it doesn't move much up and down from that standpoint. At Miami, it's much more fickle. You better show me you're headed in the right direction down here, as opposed to selling me on it. Mario's a great recruiter. He can sell folks on a lot of things. But 5-7, no bowl, and despite talent and a decent roster, hey, Tyler Van Dyke was like a projected first rounder a year ago. Despite all of those things, you bring in the Broyles Award winner from Michigan, who called an offense that was worthy of a playoff spot. You would have expected it to hit higher. So when it doesn't, you've got 2 choices, right? You double down on those moves and say, hey, we need more time, or you go a little more direct and you make changes. And that's the direction he chose. And I think a lot of it has to do with being at Miami, and he knows it as well as anybody, right? Born and raised in Miami, played there, coached there, and now he's the head coach there. You don't have the same time window that you would at most other places where football's more important, athletics are more important, and the stability beyond all of that is secure. It's not secure at Miami. It's getting there. They've made some changes, I think, inside that program and well beyond to try to push it there. And we're far away from, the 90s mantra around Miami. Hey, let's shut down the program, probation, all those things. But still, the fan base, the support is fickle. You've got to physically move and adapt towards it as soon as possible, because it's a pro sports town. It's a town that is in and out. There's a lot to do. Very few fans are alumni, which is very different compared to a lot of other schools. It's a private school, but it's a small private school, right? So it's very different compared to a lot of your traditional college football power. And Miami's resume says it should be a power. So again, the belief in that direction means you got to make moves quickly. It doesn't always work out, but I do think Gaddis in particular, it kind of makes sense for all parties. Josh he's somehow bounced around a lot. I remember him at Bama, Penn State, of course, Michigan, and Miami, and none of the stints were very long. So I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or not. He's recruited well. He obviously has assimilated into a reputable play caller on top of that. But it's hard to do that at a new school, right? To absorb that current roster, and identify your own talent, and then grab them schematically into what you think you should be. They also had a bunch of injuries, quarterback issues, all that same stuff that Notre Dame kind of dealt with. So maybe it's a coincidence and just kind of a down year for Josh, but he'll land on his feet. But from Mario's perspective, I understand being bold in some of these moves. It sucks for some of the kids. There's no doubt. Like you said, you just brought in a signing class. I think half of Miami's transfers were offensive guys. So you understand that adjustment that will be had, and maybe you lose some players because of it. But I think the ceiling with that type of roster should feel different than what we saw in 21. Miami shouldn't be like outgunned, and Miami was outgunned a lot last year in the speed and skill position player department. It should never be a thing. If Miami's going to lose, you should say, well, okay, well, in the trenches, maybe they can't hold up, something like that. It should never be we were outclassed on the outside, and that happened a lot at Miami in 22. So Cristobal knows it's an overhaul, but at the same time, even an alum like that isn't going to have the benefit of the doubt for very long. And we have so much evidence of these teams turning it around so quickly that it hurts a lot of these newer coaching staffs because they're expected to do the same, especially when you've got a big brand name on your polo shirt.
Man, does the administration realize they're part of the problem in Miami? That's because it's like you keep bringing in coach after coach and nothing changes. Like eventually the light bulb has to go off like, wait a minute. Maybe it's us. Maybe we're part of the problem as well.
Yeah, I think that's where they're starting to turn the corner a little bit. They brought in the Clemson AD who has a Miami degree right after they hired Cristobal, right before, I should say. So I think that the foundation is being laid, but to execute that and bridge past and present is very hard at a school that, maybe not to Notre Dame's degree, but in that direction has a lot of carryover from tradition and academia that has literally come out publicly and said football's not important. It's about the education. The old mantra is that Miami wanted to be the Harvard of the South back in the 70s or whatever it was. A lot of those feelings still echo when you go down there. There's almost like an elitist feel at Miami. And you see that at some high academic schools across this country. And that takes away from the perception of football. When you couple that with no on-campus stadium, small enrollment, international enrollment, a lot of those boxes aren't checked from a traditional football standpoint in terms of just the energy and the amount of people, the sheer numbers of people who will buy into your program, whether it's with actual dollars or just with their support. It fluctuates so much there that, if the administration isn't on board on top of all of that, you're really facing a kind of never-ending uphill battle. But I do think they're trying to take those right steps. Cristobal wouldn't have taken the job if he didn't know those right steps were an option. So I think all of that is coming into place. Look, NIL's big in Miami. Everybody knows that. So that stuff is on board. The Clemson AD obviously has helped turn around some programs with some key hires. So I think Mario does have kind of the freedom to make the moves that he's inclined to make, good or bad. So I do think the pressure from the AD is a little different than maybe it would have been a couple of years ago. So I do think that part of the foundation is set, but obviously there's still a lot of detractors in your own program, in your own community, and certainly amongst, the rivals in your state, right? FSU's performing above expectation.
Right.
Florida, you feel like they can turn the corner almost at any moment.
Right.
They ran the ball so darn well last year. If that continues, they will kind of get back on the right track. So the pressure is there from every angle. And I think that's why you're seeing these moves, quicker and sooner with a shorter leash than we would have otherwise expected.
Look, the Kamani McLean thing I saw coming from a mile away.
Yeah, easily.
Like as soon as Prime took the job, I'm like, okay.
I mean, he Instagrammed the kid publicly. I don't even know if that's legal, but he did.
I wasn't shocked by that at all. Uncommitted players, next national signing day. I'll tell you one that intrigues me. And oh man, I wish Notre Dame was in on this kid. Nicholas Harbor, man, might be one of the best athletes we've seen at his size in the last decade.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
how do you think this smaller version of National Signing Day is going to go with the likes of him still being uncommitted?
Yeah, he's certainly maybe the biggest fish out there, but he's just a freak, right? I mean, we throw
Yeah,
that term out too much, but he is one of those. The old school version, the new school version, however you want to quantify that word, 6'5", 233, running 10.2 in the 100. It's absurd. Like you don't believe the numbers when you see them, and then you're like, I need
10-2.
video, and then you get the video, and you're like, I need more video. I need like more evidence here. Like what was
yeah.
the wind looking like? Was there a hurricane going down? Like how is this possible? But he's putting up those kind of marks. So obviously, when you translate that over to football, your brain goes everywhere. You're like edge rusher, a hybrid linebacker, tight end receiver hybrid, whatever you want to do
Right.
besides playing on the line or quarterback, whatever you want to do, let us facilitate that transition. So naturally, a ton of interest, but he's a unique kid, very layered recruitment. He wants to be a surgeon, he wants to run track, and he wants to play offense. Even though you hear 6'5", 233 with that type of explosiveness, and most football minds go, I need this guy to get after the passer, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
that's kind of the first step, but he wants to stay trim for track. And he thinks on offense, he can stay in that 225, 230 range and still have a big impact as a wide receiver, even though there's a lack of polish and
Yeah,
a
can he
lot of
catch?
development to be had. Yeah, he fights the football a little bit. He's getting better, but
Them
it's not
fast
that.
track guys usually be having problems with their hands.
Right. And then, of course, that's the other thing. Now there's this pro track element that's out there because obviously in track, if you've got those kind of goods, you can sign a deal at 18 and go
Mhm.
pro. So there's a lot on his plate. And then that has allowed his recruitment to be different compared to your normal blue blood or blue chip recruit, right? It's not Notre Dame, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, USC. It's South Carolina, Maryland, Michigan, Oregon. Yeah, it's totally different. He's going to Oregon this weekend,
That's how
so they're going to
Michael
get the
Bell's
last shot.
recruitment was. Michael Bell had like Vanderbilt, Syracuse, and Notre Dame or something like that. You're like,
That's true. Yeah, another track guy. So he's going to go to Oregon this weekend. Look, that's the best track facility maybe in the world.
Yeah.
So that will be appealing.
we
So
just
we'll
built
see.
something. We just built a nice little something, right? For track.
It's not even close, Lev. It's not even close, Lev. Look, man, it might be nicer, but it's nowhere near. Look.
They
I
they
mean,
host they host the Olympic trials at Oregon.
right,
Okay.
right.
Okay,
Hey,
that's
bro,
the best way.
John, this is our running joke on the show. Like, I don't care what recruit you are, take the official visit to Oregon. I don't know, just pencil it in. Take the official visit to Oregon. Get the
Those things
shoes,
gotta go.
get the perks. Just see it.
Yeah. So yeah, in the NIL era, track at Oregon is even more appealing.
Yeah.
So
Damn.
yeah, Oregon will have a fighting chance as the last school in. There was talk of other schools trying to get involved late. Colorado, of course. Miami tried to get involved, but if you don't get a visit from him, you're not going to grab him because he really does want to go pre-med and sit down with
We ain't got that. So
he wants to sit down with the academic folks just as much as football and track. So he's fascinating in and of himself. He's also got a personality on top of all of this. So he'll be fun no matter where he ends up. And I think the perception is that it's kind of a South Carolina, Michigan deal going into this Oregon visit. But most of us expect Oregon to really knock this trip out of the park and give them a lot to think about on Wednesday. So I think it'll be one of those three. No disrespect to Maryland, the local school. He's a DC kid. So Maryland, Maryland's going to have that hometown feel. But this is, if you're talking going pro, becoming a surgeon, and being this football unicorn, staying close to home isn't going to be your most important criteria. And he's made that pretty clear. So it'll be an interesting decision. But, obviously the ball is in Oregon's court for Harbor right now.
Man, two tight ends, Deuce Robinson, Walker Lyons. Walker Lyons was Notre Dame recruited him. I think he decommitted from Stanford. So how do you see these guys? Deuce Robinson is somebody that Notre Dame, got in on a little bit early, and things just kind of fizzled down the stretch. It's rare that you see tight ends at this level not committed this late in the game. How do you see their recruitment playing out?
Yeah, and Deuce is another one where the secondary sport is a big deal, big time baseball recruit. I think some of the schools that he's considering now offered in baseball first. So
Mm,
that's something that really appealed to him. I think Georgia and Texas offered in baseball first, and then football came along. But really, since he visited Georgia at the end of last year, it's like, look, man, you're a tight end, you're this hybrid pass catcher. We are going to throw to the tight end first. There's been a lot of Georgia buzz since then, but before that, it was all USC. He's an Arizona kid. At the Elite 11, he was one of the receivers out there just catching passes, and Caleb Williams was a counselor. And every time Caleb threw it to Deuce Robinson, the coaches at the Elite 11 were like, "We're going to see that in the future." So there was a lot of USC buzz kind of early on there, but Georgia has kind of caught up in that regard. Other schools in it, Texas, Oregon was trying to get a late visit. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I think this is a Georgia versus USC battle. And he's got ties to the South, too. His dad played at FSU, Dominic Robinson. You guys might remember him.
yeah.
Although Dominic was like, what, 6'2"? Deuce is like 6'6", 230 pounds. So the bloodlines jumped up a bit. So he's got some ties to the state of Florida and kind of SEC, ACC country. But it looks like it's, stay in the West Coast with USC or go across country to be that next West Coaster at Georgia. But he's done with visits, totally in evaluation mode at this point. So I'm sure, it's nitty gritty for him right now. He's the one, though, of these last few guys, he's the one that isn't 100% set on February 1st. So he is considering maybe pushing it back. And you guys know if he pushes it beyond Wednesday, just like Cormani McClain, that thing can go wide open again. Oregon gets a visit. He ends up visiting Colorado. It becomes totally wide open again. But if he does sign Wednesday, I think that Georgia momentum is pretty real, though USC wouldn't surprise me either. And then with Walker, I don't know. He's been real quiet. Stanford's still in it. They bring in Coach Taylor, going to throw it a whole lot more than David Shaw did. So I think that's probably appealing to him. But at that same light, once he decommitted, a lot of folks jumped in. I think Utah, Georgia, again, heavy on Walker Lyons. Georgia's going to get one of these two guys. I'm not sure if both could end up there. They've already got a tight end signed and enrolled. So, yeah, they're kind of cornering the tight end market right now in recruiting. So they're going to grab one of these two guys. It would be pretty surprising if they didn't. But there is a chance that Lyons ends up back at Stanford under the new administration. Obviously, you get into Stanford, it's just like Notre Dame. It hits different. You don't see a lot of Stanford decommitments, although the coaching change is obviously unique.
Huge.
Hey, man, I don't like what Kirby's doing. He's trying to come after our tight end you moniker.
Yeah, you ask kids nowadays, and they will throw out some teams that you're like, really? not Notre Dame or Iowa or
right.
yeah, Georgia's tight end. It's different. It's in my day. It's Notre Dame, Iowa, Stanford, probably.
Yeah, right.
It's these kids. Remember, man, they're born post 9/11. I mean, it's a different world. Talking to kids these days, thinking, hey, who's tight end you? Who's running back you? DB you? Like they don't even say LSU early on in the DBU discussion. It's really amazing to see how that perception shifts. But yeah, Georgia's tight end recruiting is going to be okay for quite a while.
Wow.
As we get ready to let you go, John, you know what has amazed me the most? I saw Notre Dame offer a 26 kid this morning. And I said to myself, yo, I know there's a 26 kid here in Chicago who is the son of former Miami wide receiver Andre Brown from the 80s Canes. His son, Stephen Brown, is here in Chicago. He just picked up offers this week.
Man.
And I'm like, yo, this is bananas. But we've been hearing, like, even on the circuit, we've been hearing about Chris Henry Jr., who's a 26 son of Chris Henry Sr., who tragically died. And if I'm not mistaken, Pac-Man Jones is kind of like taking him under his wings. Awesome. And we've been hearing buzz. And like when Notre Dame, when he tweeted out the offer from Notre Dame, Rocky Boyman, who's an ESPN commentator, former Notre Dame linebacker, who's in that area in Cincinnati, was like, now we're talking. And I'm like, yo, like this kid has that buzz and he's a 26 kid. But
He looked just like him too. Looked just like
he
Chris.
does look just like him. 6'5", 180 already. It's crazy that you have to get in this early.
If he plays anything like that, people don't realize Chris Henry was
a dude. Yes,
he was like
DeAndre Hopkins.
He was built for this era, really.
Mm-hmm.
He was built as one of those guys. Contested.
He'll be Mike Williams in this era.
That's a great comp. Yep,
Mike Williams.
Yeah, he was a dog, man.
Can you imagine?
Chad too? Yeah, Chad Ochocinco on the other side.
Oh man,
Carson Palmer was eating good.
Yeah, he was.
I think losing Chris Henry and then Carson Palmer's injury just kind of derailed what really was the renaissance, and then it just got delayed into Joe Burrow.
And Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and
it's hard in that division too. Back then, Palmer was dealing with the Steelers and the Ravens. My gosh, those defenses were absurd too. So that division's always been rough.
But it's crazy. It's the same way, right? It was 3 receivers and a quarterback, and it's 3 receivers and a quarterback once again. That's bringing that renaissance to Cincinnati.
With the same number at quarterback, 9.
That is the same number. You're right.
Yeah.
Hey, we appreciate you, bro. Once again, let everybody know what you have and the shows you just posted over at CFB Nation.
Yeah. State of Recruiting pods, dropping a new one here over the weekend. Last visit weekend, right? We talked about Nicholas Harbor. That he'll obviously come up once more, but there's a lot of schools trying to grab another recruit or two to polish off these high school classes. So there's still some drama going into signing day, and we'll have it covered for you at the State of Recruiting. Of course, just like these fine folks under the CFB Nation umbrella, like, subscribe, rate, all that stuff. It's growing quickly. We appreciate the support, but tell your friends to tell a friend, and let's grow it a little bit more.
All right, John Garcia Jr., go follow him right now on Twitter and Instagram. Hey, we're telling you, he's the best in the business when it comes to college football recruiting, man. Check him out, State of Recruiting. John, have a great day, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, fellas. Have a good show.
All right. Yes, sir. That's the big Brody, John Garcia Jr. We love having him on, bro.
Always.
Love having him on. The conversation.
What's the reason?
Yes. And hopefully everyone that was listening, the conversation and the way he pointed out how things are and how important it is to be transparent, or that's what you should want as an athlete. Transparency from a program and a head coach and your coaches about where you stand with them within that program. Like, that's all you can ask for at this point, Left.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for, just the honesty, because, it's time's ticking. And the way brands are moving faster and guys playing younger and earlier, you don't got time to just sit and hope and wait until your turn.
Heck no. Lucky.
You're not an honest conversation.
Man. Lucky Lefty podcast. So, Left, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, follow, subscribe, hit the like button, notification bell, CFB Nation, Irish Breakdown. We spin it different. Now, Left, I want to get into this discussion concerning Notre Dame. Is Marcus Freeman, after 1 year, in your opinion, the right guy? And that could go multiple ways, because you can look at it and ask, is he the right guy to win a national championship? Is he the right guy to change the culture and the narrative of recruiting? Is he the right guy to get things going in the right direction? And I watched, probably for the millionth time, I watched The Last Dance documentary.
Why? It's not going to be better than LeBron's Last Dance.
No.
That's going to have to be like 2 whole seasons or something.
You do realize that The Last Dance literally saved ESPN as a network.
Oh, my God. Here we go. So you know that
bro, I won't even talk about the TV side. I'm telling you, from the radio side, in the midst of the pandemic, it literally saved radio stations across the country.
Really?
Literally. I can tell you, it saved ESPN 1000, bro. What else was there to talk about? Everything was shut down. You're a sports station. What are you going to talk about? We had guests on every day. We talked to musical guests, people that were part of The Last Dance. We talked to stars, everything. it gave us an opportunity to be creative as producers, produce content, and for 2 or 3 months, it really carried the industry, bro. It really did.
Now,
It was,
just me.
and that's just not because of like just the timing of it. Because remember, it was supposed to drop a whole month later. It
Oh yeah,
wasn't
it's
even
supposed to drop
done.
later. Yeah, they
It wasn't
brought
even
it out
done.
early because it was like
So they
nobody doing
rushed.
nothing.
They rushed the editing. They were still editing, I think, episodes 7 through 10 when they dropped episode 1 and 2.
Yeah, 'cause they drop it 2 at a time.
Right. They rushed the project,
Mm.
dude, because they didn't have anything else.
Nah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it made me think. Like I felt, I felt bad for Doug Collins, bro.
Really? Because he
I
only got like
did.
10 minutes in the whole
I
thing.
did. No, because Doug Collins took them from. In my opinion, Doug Collins took them a greater distance than Phil Jackson. And my point is, Doug Collins took them from just being a 7th, 8th seed and a bunch of young guys to literally one game
Yeah.
away from getting to the NBA Finals. You know how far of a distance they had to climb over 3 to 4 teams to get to that point. That's a huge jump.
Man.
And Phil Jackson just came in and was like, "Okay, y'all battle tested. You've lost to the Pistons twice. You're pretty much ready to win physically. Now I'm just gonna give you this mental part and the triangle offense."
Oh, the Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr.
That's what I'm saying. Now you got it. And it's like, okay, dude, I felt bad for him, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about Marcus Freeman. And I said to myself, man, I want him to be the guy that wins the national championship.
Not set it up and then get booted off the top of the. Hoping they'll do him dirty like that. He gonna get all these good recruiting classes, and then we're gonna be one game away. They're gonna find a way to get him up out of there, and then lo and behold, Billy Napier becomes Notre Dame's savior.
You know. And I'm not calling by any means. I'm not calling Doug Collins a better coach than Phil Jackson. That's not what I'm saying. But I think there's such discredit given to. You know what? I'll go a step further because I'm feeling real GC today. It's a really great day in Chicago. I'm feeling extra GC. I'll tip my cap to what Brian Kelly did, bro.
Yeah, from a consistency level, for sure.
I'll tip my cap because because if Marcus Freeman does end up winning a national championship, Brian Kelly would be Doug Collins. He really would be in this scenario. Like he brought Notre Dame a greater distance in his time.
Yeah, he had 10 years to do it.
That's true. That's true. Kind of like heck.
Give Marcus 10 years, and then we can be like, is he Doug Collins for real or what?
Yeah, kind of like
Marcus probably on half-life of that.
Yeah,
He don't win no championship.
Kind of takes the luster off, like kind of playing 20 years and passing Kareem. I mean, you play 20 years. You play 20 years. I mean,
but he's known as a passer.
I just thought I would just throw it was in the same ballpark, Left. I was just throwing it out there, man. I just thought it fit. Right?
That's crazy.
But
that's crazy.
In the same ballpark.
But that's not 100 fewer games either, though. Let's talk about that. Doing it in 100 fewer games. That means something.
Lucky Lefty podcast. So I wonder how many people in the midst of all of this stuff that was happening on message boards yesterday, how many people really still feel like Marcus Freeman is the right guy? Just an honest question. Yeah, the turmoil of the first season, just back and forth for transparency, roster management. Like, how do you feel about Marcus Freeman? Like, is he the right guy? Is he the right guy to win a national championship? Like,
I think anybody that's making judgment right now is just not treating it
But they're already
air
making trouble.
goggles. Because it's like 1 year, number one. Number two, he's coming off another guy's recruitment. Recruitment is everything. If I'm not coaching my own players, I'm kind of like, transitioning these guys to the next level or whatever. My heart's in it, but it ain't in it when I've been sitting at that table eating my own spaghetti, bringing in a Jalen Sneed. I just might coach a little different.
Yeah.
I love JD Bertrand. That's my guy.
Yeah.
We have coffee in my office every day. But Jalen Sneed's my baby. That's my project. And a little bit more molded on that.
Right.
Put my name on, put the sticker. JD Bertrand got the sticker BK on it. It's like he can't, and this ain't even, I'm renting this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I turn this back in. The blockbuster.
Yeah.
But Jalen Sneed, no, we red boxed it, but kept it longer than needed.
Ooh, you said red boxed it. Hey, bro, you know what, man? It's a Friday. Let me tell you something about Fridays. That was nothing doper than Friday than walking in a blockbuster video with your girl, choosing a couple of movies, knowing you about to go back to the spot and chill, dude.
That's right.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm old school. And I'm not against streaming services. No. It's just the moment, bro. That was a moment on a Friday night.
Because you can't cheat it. No, you can't. You can't just hold on to go and scroll and find it. You gotta have it on the kitchen table. So you got, honey, go grab that downstairs.
Right.
Because you gotta pop it in. So then you get the popcorn with it.
Absolutely.
So now it's a whole experience. Now it's like
talk on it, Lev.
With the drink, with the popcorn.
Talk about it, Lev. And see, then if you real smooth with it, you let her choose her movie, and then you sneak off to the video game side.
That's right.
So you can sneak one of those video games
just underneath
at the counter. Right.
It's like, let me just.
Right. There you go.
You put the Twizzlers and the candy on top of the video.
Right.
And then you push it next to the. All of that. Just all of that.
Yes. I was mad when Redbox came. I'm like, well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
This ain't a moment.
You on a kiosk.
Ain't no moment getting out the car. Your girl is in the car and you going to pick
cold.
the That's no moment.
Cold. Why they put them outside?
Exactly. That's not a moment.
So now you got to hurry up. And then there's somebody in line, you waiting.
Right.
They thinking that you finna rob them or something.
Absolutely.
You all on their shoulder, making sure you didn't get your movie.
Absolutely.
Like, don't be.
And that's what I'm trying to tell people right now. Stop trying to Netflix the moment that is Marcus Freeman.
That's right.
Treat it like Blockbuster on a Friday night.
Cherish that movie, man.
Man.
Get it, transport it, pop it in.
Absolutely.
You got to unplug some stuff because you got to plug the DVD player in.
Right.
Because it's been attached all the time.
Right. If you just happen to get there at like 8:30 on a Friday night, when you walked up to that movie that just came out that your girl wants to see, nothing's going to be behind it. Because the movie had to be behind the cover.
We got to be behind the cover.
And if they sold out, man.
You out of luck.
You out of luck.
You got to get off work early.
You got to get off work earlier, get there earlier for the new release.
Don't be spoiled to just run home and say, I'm going to just catch it and then trade passwords with your friend down the street. You cheating the process.
Absolutely. Like Coach Vic said, enjoy the Marcus Freeman experience, man.
Yeah. Because he's putting the show together.
Relax.
They're trying to get to the interludes and criticize interludes.
All of that. All of that. I wish they brought interludes back in hip-hop, dude. It was an experience.
It's an experience.
Man, I could repeat the Mad Rapper interludes from back in the day when Bad Boy was taking shots at Death Row. Like it was nothing. It was hilarious.
Yeah, talking that stuff.
Enjoy the Marcus Freeman experience, man.
I think it's interesting. The older people get, I don't think it's the young people that like instant gratification. It's the older people. This is really the mind game, how they reverse psychologize you.
Yes.
They hit you with we want to win now. The young guys like, yeah, I know the process. What Houston Griffith say? It's a process to it. We got to get to it.
Yes.
We got to establish dominance.
Yeah.
We're going to get there. But you get these older fans, it's like, we want to win tomorrow. And if we don't want to win tomorrow, we want to get rid of them the next day. How you going to do that? Because they only appreciate us when we leave. Because if Marcus Freeman leave too early, going to be like, where's recruiting?
Man.
Where's the fire of the team? Why are we so flat? Where's the development? It's all cooking right now. So you need to be, oh, wow, we got that. We got Justice Scott coming in. We got something on the way. Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
That's why I said choose to be happy, man.
Choose to be happy.
At this moment. You're at the genesis of this, man. Do you know how bad Chicago Bulls basketball was, bro?
We could be programs that got recruiting directors fraternizing with players and coaches. That could be Marcus Freeman. That could be Marcus. Then he got to go to the podium, not talk about Justice Scott and recruiting, talk about the foolishness. And we can't appreciate not having that because he too professional. He too focused on the vision and task at hand.
Man.
He ain't got no time to talk about no foolishness.
Too busy on the road recruiting.
He too busy to be like, what happened with my coaches? Al Washington did what? He better not. He supposed to be recruiting. He ain't got no time to be in no foolishness. See, that's why we got to enjoy what we got while we got it. Because you never know how good you got it until
it's gone.
Until it's gone.
Until it's gone, man.
Because we can get foolishness in the building. We can get that. But Jack Schwarber had the knowledge at hand and know Marcus Freeman not about foolishness. He's from Dayton.
People don't understand, man. You just took me back today, Left. That Blockbuster was a thing, bro. That Blockbuster was a thing, man.
Yeah.
Especially if you were single at the time. What?
Yeah, options. She gonna say, well, we never need to go to movie theaters. You got them all right here laid out on the table.
Blockbuster always had cute employees, bro.
Always.
Always. Then you had your girls coming through, walking around, trying to find a movie. Like,
now you fake work for Blockbuster, suggesting movies to the girls.
Man.
I saw that last week.
It was an expense. Yes. Tell them, Left. Tell them. Let them know. Let these newbies know. Y'all have no clue what you missed out on.
Yeah, now you stuck just tweeting about the release dates. You don't even get that personal interaction.
Nothing.
Somebody hear your synopsis of what you think about the movie, because that happened a lot. What you think about this? Should I get this? Man, I don't know. I give about a 3 out of 5. Thought it could have been a little bit better.
Man.
Put down the screens, man. Get outside, man. Go to your local Blockbuster.
Man. I guess we're trying to tell you to relax, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy the goodness that is Notre Dame football right now.
For goodness sake.
Enjoy actually going after 5-star athletes.
Being in the running.
Identifying a kid in the 26th class and knowing if we're going to get him from Ohio State, we need to get on him now.
Enjoy other teams teaming up, hearing on the grapevine, and teaming up to stop us recruiting kids.
Think about that. They couldn't stop the commitment.
No, they couldn't stop the commitment.
Couldn't stop the commitment. Couldn't change his heart. Couldn't change his heart.
They tried. Then they showed up to the basketball games. Ryan Day tried to have his jersey on. All type of foolishness.
We got to go and make sure that we just slow it down. Kirby. Hey, Kirby, you go this week. Ryan, you go next week.
They
Hey,
call each other.
Jim, you show up the next week. Like we all got to come together
We
just to
gotta
get him.
stop this man,
Yes,
Marcus Freeman, from being number one. We can let Nick Saban do it, but not Marcus Freeman.
This cat Marcus
pocket
Freeman
watching
walked
my
in.
guy.
This dude Marcus Freeman walked in for 1 hour and had the young man ready to jump off the bridge, bro.
They got Deion doing it too. Pocket watching my man Marcus Freeman. They ain't seen the picture go crazy. Marcus Freeman looking fly with that brother that was about to commit to Notre Dame. Deion started hating, man. Deion had to call him up right after. You couldn't wait. Oh, they doing my dog wrong.
Come on,
Marcus
man.
Freeman must be doing right because they doing him wrong. He must be right. Teaming up. Curry, did you just win a championship? What are you so worried about? Ryan Day, didn't you just beat us? But you ain't even close to Chicago. What you sitting at basketball games? You a football coach. You don't know nothing about basketball. At least Marcus Freeman looked like he played basketball. You know, he can get a couple rebounds, a couple buckets, can share some basketball stories. Ryan Day, you just a fan. They thought you had to buy a ticket to get in. They was like, oh, they checked you at the door. They said, whoa, you got to get a ticket, sir. You a regular person. Like Dylan Brooks said, you a regular guy. Marcus Freeman coming in with that fly Under Armour line. Oh, yeah, you must be somebody important, bro. We got
you already know the attention that he got wearing the apparel this year. The cost of the brick went up. You already know. Under Armour, that check just, hey, if you thought it was 100 for the new contract, the buzz that Marcus Freeman created,
add another 50 on that.
Dude, you might as well add another 50. That cat Marcus Freeman, A.K. Marlo Stansfield.
Jack call him right now. Thanks for raising that value of that athletic wear. You coming in doing more than expected. You done raised the value of the apparel deal.
Yes.
You might be here for a while, Marcus Freeman.
Yes. John Massey, thank you for tapping in. John Massey said there's a warehouse somewhere full of the Freeman collection.
Yeah, especially if we all sign back. I know they just keeping it tucked in. They're going to try to drop it later, a special edition or something. You know Under Armour do.
Look, man, it's so much. And I'm not telling you not to, you know, you have PTSD from the BK era, what happened last year with Peyton Bowen, Keon Keeley. Look, all right. That's fine. That's on the negative side of the ledger.
And it's crazy because they had to team up to the last day. That's how strong Marcus Freeman's hold on these kids. They had to go to the last day. He had Peyton Bowen all discombobulated. He done threw the Notre Dame didn't know where to go after. He said, I done messed up. And Marcus Freeman just played it cool. What Marcus Freeman say? I want you. But do they want you? Hit him with that. Does the class want you back? Because I'll take talent. You know, I ain't pressing you. I'll take the talent. But do they want you back? See, he players coach, you know, got the mind games. So there's nothing wrong. He did it to Drew. Y'all didn't complain. Now he do it to a middle of the pack roster. Y'all got all this stuff to say.
Like, oh my God. How could he ever?
But if he replaced it with a Keon or a Justin Scott, it's like, oh, that's a good move. That's a good move. Team just got better.
You know, the young man, David. We watched his film. You broke down his film the other day, the defensive end / defensive tackle from up in Pennsylvania that's going to IMG. Guess what? He announced yesterday that he's no longer transferring to IMG. He's going to stay at his school in Pennsylvania. I said, that's perfect for Notre Dame. Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect.
That jet get gassed up, go anywhere, though. That's the reach.
Man.
They ain't talking about the reach. They talking about...
You know what? We're going to show some love today. We're going to show some love. Because that cat, Tommy, has taken it personal. That cat, Tommy, has been at every Friday night game at St. Ignatius over the past month.
There we go.
Tommy's like, hey man, until Big Boy signs, I'm here in Chicago. Well, I'm kicking it in Chicago. He'll be at his game tonight. Once again, confirming that his visit to Notre Dame.
Wasn't no fluke.
Yeah, dude.
Wasn't no fluke.
Didn't you feel? You know what I used to feel bad about? Let me tell you something. You haven't had anybody in your crew that was just like, you shake your head at your boy, like, man, why are you doing that? So I'm not gonna use my boy's name. So you know how it is in college, bro. You know, girls come down. You know, they tell you they got a boyfriend back home, and my boy just, you know, slowly but surely chipped away, chipped away, chipped away. The boyfriend comes to campus, bro.
On that Tariq and what's the dude that
Oh, you talking about on Power?
Power Tariq
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Zendaya or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he comes to campus to see his girl, dude, and they go to a concert. They have tickets to a concert. Dude left his shoes at home. I told my boy, I said, "You dirty, man." He offered this man his shoes. Like, man, you know what size you wear?
Mm.
Man, you can wear these.
Mm.
I said, man, come on, bro.
Mm.
Like,
That's nasty work.
you gonna stand in this man's face and offer him for shoes, knowing
That's nasty work.
knowing what you're doing.
It's nasty work.
To me, that's Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. Oh, this what y'all doing? Y'all teaming up? Oh, okay. You want to come see him? Come on, see him.
Yeah, come on.
Come on, see him. Matter of fact, we won't even show up. We're like, come on, put your best foot forward. Give your best efforts.
I'll help you talk to him.
Yeah.
You can have my seat. I get every game.
Like, man, look, come on, man. Look, you need directions to a restaurant while you're in Chicago? You want us to tell you where to eat? Do whatever. Because at the end of the day, once again, Marcus Freeman in 1 hour got this young man to totally change his plans, dude. And it took a collection of the best coaches from the best programs around the country
To team up.
Like
the Avengers.
On Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman.
On one man and one recruit.
On one man and one recruit.
All the recruits out here, y'all openly recruit everybody, but y'all just happen to just find who we recruiting and team up to where you're coordinating with other schools that we play to be like, how can we work together? We don't care if he go to your school, my school. We just can't let him go to Notre Dame.
Boy. Oh, boy.
That's like, it's so, yes, Marcus Freeman is the right guy.
And we sitting up and complaining about.
Never teamed up to stop nobody from taking our recruits with Brian Kelly. Marcus Freeman's so smooth, he grabbed the best 2 quarterbacks in the state above us in Michigan and get them to not want to go to Michigan. And they play on the same team.
the same 7-on-7 squad.
Had them both. Had the starter and the backup. In hardball territory. That's how gangster we was. We just get both the best 2 quarterbacks in the state, 23 and 24 class, on the same team. We're going to snatch both of them up in your backyard. Now what? So once the word got around about that, they said, look, this man has to be stopped. They saw him on the jet with Dina McCullum. They said, he's got to be stopped. Where's he going next? First person Dion want to intrude on when he get to Colorado is Marcus Freeman.
Oh, boy.
Why are you calling Jade Osbury? Why you call? You just talking about you moving in. You done your whole press conference, and the first person you intrude on is Marcus Freeman. Deion, you should feel ashamed of yourself. All these targets out here. You got Nick Saban, Kirby, Pruitt. You want to start off with Marcus Freeman. What is the big deal about Marcus Freeman? We go down there to IMG, start offering the whole group. And the whole group wanted to come. Now Kirby want to go down there. For what? What do you want? Messing with Keon. What? Now we ain't had no Will Anderson like Bama did. Just be like, hey, just talk to him. See, that's that last piece. That's that last piece. Wait till Jalen Sneed get nice. Marcus Freeman gonna stick him on. Hey Jalen, go talk to them, bro. Go show them all the rings we got. Go tell them how I'm gonna take you to the promise. Go. That's that next level though. But right now, the attention that Marcus Freeman is getting on the recruiting trail lets you know. But
we want to complain about message boards and whether or not Marcus Freeman is being honest with cats about where they stand at Notre Dame.
And you got these other teams cheating and crying and complaining about money spent, raising money, pitching off for other, poaching off for other teams, crying about all that. And y'all doing Marcus Freeman the worst. And he ain't said nothing. He just playing the game. He just playing in the game. He said, I'm in game. It's cool. What are you talking about it for? I'm not going to complain like Jimbo or like Pat Narduzzi. Guys calling my guys. So what? We don't negotiate with terrorists.
No.
We telling kids we don't want you. We need to upgrade. Deion said it, y'all, you know. Deion's stealing Marcus Freeman's words already. We done been told the kid he can't come. Been told the kid he can't commit. At Notre Dame. How about that? We waited till he got there. He had the whole commitment thing going on. And Marcus Freeman said, whoa, it's Notre Dame. Pump your brakes. Now Deion want to try to make it famous, talk about we coming. How? And then you want to intrude on his first recruits. Like you so thirsty, you couldn't wait till the man got home. Marcus Freeman's a bad man. And this is year one.
Year one got people in shambles. Teams that beat us are linking up with each other. I've never seen nothing like that. Never. Worry about what we do. I don't know, man. I don't know. Lucky Lefty podcast. We're just different, man. We just choose to see things differently, man. We don't know how things are going to play out, but I'll tell you one thing. Man, stop all that foolishness talking about Marcus Freeman not holding the core values of Notre Dame because he's sitting down having an honest conversation with a young man about his future. The same thing would happen academically with someone that went to Notre Dame. The people at Notre Dame would sit down with a young man or a young woman if they're not living up to expectations academically and say, yo, man, you might want to think about transfer. You might not be able to cut it here.
Yeah, Notre Dame don't play no games when they
So are the professors, are they not holding up the values of Notre Dame? The academic advisors that tell young people, hey, you might want to look for another institution.
It's not ITT Tech now.
No.
You can't just say, you know, you can do all the crying and guilt tripping on these other people. You can't guilt trip Notre Dame. They'd be like, but the rules say right here in the DULOC, if you don't got this, you got to go.
Man.
We're going to help you. We're going to send you in front of a board, in front of your peers. With, no mercy, man.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. Nothing else to say. For the Culture Friday. You know what time it is, Left.
Petticoat. Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty history? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, Petty Story of the Day, brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. It's that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. I'm going to put myself on the petty train, man. Look, we got to stop. Please. What we talked about today, to be honest, was very upsetting to me. It just really was, Left. It was very upsetting to me. Because it was almost like, what are we really doing? Like, are we just trying to find reasons to throw this head coach under the bus?
Well, that's going. Come on now. Come on now.
I'm like,
come on now.
As much as I love the fan base, I deleted at least 3 tweets yesterday. At least three. Like, no, you know what? I don't want to do that. Right? Just in wisdom. Like, no, I don't want to do that. And I caught myself. I was like, man, cool, let me chill. Right? And see, this right here, this is what, this is not a shot, right? We'll see Freeman's decommit list is top 75 class. Like, we don't run from facts. But y'all beg somebody to come in and go after the top athletes because Brian Kelly didn't do it.
Every time.
And now you don't want to deal with the hurts and pains of delivery. Delivery is a painful process.
Okay, break it down, GC. Break it down, GC.
Maybe most of us that are males don't understand how painful it is because we never gone through it. But to ask this man to give birth to what we've asked for and not be able to go through the growing pains of it or the labor of it, you sound spoiled and you kind of come across as spoiled and entitled. As if these kids, without question, should want to come to Notre Dame. When nobody over the last 20 years has given them a reason to come to Notre Dame. No one has really approached them and said, yo, this is why Notre Dame should be in your top 5, should be in your top 3. And a man comes in with no preparation time, going after a class, gets people in the fold
during the pandemic
and can't hold on to them. And now it's funny. Show me any other coach in Notre Dame history that had the number 1 and number 2 player, other than Lou Holtz, in a particular class locked in at any point in time. I don't care if they did decommit. Show me. But you want to be impatient. That's why we said this ain't Netflix, man. Maybe you thought this was Netflix and chill. This is an experience,
Maybe you
man.
thought this was a Tinder date.
Swipe, right? We want everybody to enjoy being Notre Dame fans, man. There's too much happiness in it. That's what we tell people that cover Notre Dame all the time. Like, it's too much meat on the bone of Notre Dame football and Notre Dame sports to ever have an issue with each other. Like, I listen to, man, I probably watch every other Notre Dame podcast that exists just to support as a fan. Everybody.
That's right.
So, yo,
Relax.
yeah, man, that it almost took me over the top, bro. That almost took me over the top. And I'm glad I kind of resisted the urge to tweet and just say, you know what, we'll just talk about it tomorrow. Have John Garcia talk about it and give a national perspective so people can understand what happens and what needs to happen and how things are totally different. It's an open market now on both sides. So it's the way of the world. Has nothing to do with core values. And like I said, it's nothing different than an academic advisor at Notre Dame sitting down with a young man and his parents and saying, you know what, maybe you should transfer. Maybe, you should think about taking a semester off and maybe come back. What's the difference?
That's right.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
So instead, I sacrificed myself for the greater good because I wanted to put those fans on the petty train. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and say what I need to say and put myself on the petty train because I was about to be super petty yesterday
That's right.
in the tweets.
Don't let them get to you.
No, I said I'm going to chill. Lucky Lefty podcast. We appreciate you guys. You ready for this, bro?
We ready.
You ready? Are you sure? You ready to take this L and Arrowhead?
Never. Joe
Okay.
Burrow, we trust.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Don't show up Monday if they lose. I'm just letting you know.
Nah.
I'm taking the first
hat on.
boy, I'm talking the first 20 minutes. I'm taking the first 20 minutes like you lost to this dude on one leg.
Pat Mahomes is 0-3.
All I'm saying is don't let it happen. That's all I'm saying. Don't let it happen. Because if it happens, I'm talking some trash. You can believe that. Happy birthday to our boy Jay Carr. 25 years old. Man, happy birthday, bro. Enjoy your day, your weekend. Eternal blessings and favor upon you, man. 25. I can't even remember what I did for my 25th, bro. My 25th? Sheesh. Wait a minute. I think I got married on my 25th, bro.
Wow.
Or either my bachelor party was on the 20th. I got married the day after my birthday.
Wow. Yeah, don't forget that.
No, I'm trying. I think it was. I turned 26. Yeah, I got it a year early. So yeah, I don't know what I did on my 25th because I got married the day after my 26th birthday.
Damn, that's pretty cool, man.
No, I did get married on my 25th. Dang, I got married on the day after my 25th birthday. So that's what I did on my 25th, bro. I got married. That's what's up. I just did the calculations. Yeah, I got married. Thank you for the super chat. Malik is the JSOC of Notre Dame. I don't even know what that means, bro.
I don't know what that means either. It's a tough acronym, though.
Irish AJ, Oh, Shaun about to come in with a cowboy hat, laughing like Stephen A. You know what? I might do something like that on
Yeah,
my
right.
boy Monday.
Come here dressed like an Indian or something. Arrowhead guy.
No, I would never do that. Come on, man. Come on. You know I would never go that far. Hey, everyone.
Shannon come with the goat mask.
He does come with the goat mask. He just has the wrong jersey on when he has the goat mask on. That's all. It's the other 23.
Just wait till that LeBron Last Dance come out.
First of all, he already stole one movie. If he actually calls it Last Dance, it's enough. It's enough. That's all he does is sequels. He can't do an original to save his life.
Man, I'm not hearing that.
Man, we see everybody. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Most of all, make sure that you spin it different.